Hello, and welcome back to She Knows. I don't know everything, but I know enough. So let us get into it. Now, this is real crazy because I was recording before this new recording and it was not catching my voice, so I had to do a whole new one. And I got into like 5 minutes of it and realized that. So it's annoying when you're new to this type of things. These are the things that happen. But anyway, so today we're going to talk about my experience with the juvenile justice system. Like I told y'all on the last episode, I had my experience with the police officers, young, behind bars, crazy. So now I'm going to deal with the part with my misbehaving, my being something else, So I was out in the streets very young, and plain and simple, I just was out in them streets. I got involved in the streets probably when I was like around probably 13, smoking weed, drinking, completely out of control. So, where that started to lead me down a bad road. I started to miss a lot of school. And this is what led me to the PENS program. I don't know if y'all familiar with that, but it's a program that they put you in when you need supervision. And if you don't know what PENS stand for, it's persons in need of supervision. Basically, the program tries to slow the youth down, help them get more control of their life. So, for me, it really didn't, at that point in time, really didn't mean anything. And I got on this PENS probably when I was like either 15 or 16 years old, maybe even 14, but I'm not sure. But I think it was probably 15. So I got sent on it because basically the school was calling home because I wasn't even going to school. Every day I leave out, but I wasn't going to school. I was going out to smoke, drink early in the morning. I wasn't going to school. So, at that point in time, the parents will get in trouble. I don't know if they still do it now if the child isn't going to school. So my grandmother, who I was living with at that time, basically was like, oh no, y'all can sign her for this program. Like, she's out of control anyway, which my grandmother was rightfully so. I was out of control. I went to some facility downtown in Buffalo, New York, because at this point in time, that's where I was living at. And put this ankle bracelet on me. So it really didn't mean anything to me when they put the ankle bracelet on. I kind of was thinking in my head like, and so do y'all think this gonna stop me from doing what I'm doing? Like, I'm gonna comply till I don't want to comply. But I definitely started going to school because I kind of knew I was in a little bit of trouble, but it really didn't hit home yet. My birthday was coming up and I kept pressing my grandparents like, can y'all please call my probation officer, that's what I had at that moment, and asked them, can I stay out later? My birthday is on February 7th. Big Aquarius in the building. I was definitely pressed about being out that day. So it came, they didn't call, and I was upset. One of my closest friends, what I'm telling you, like, I consider her my sister, and I hope she don't get mad by me calling her name out, but Cece, I love you. She called me, was, wishing me happy birthday like she always does. And, she like, well, what you want to do? I'm like, I want to go out. She like, but you can't come out because you're on an ankle bracelet. And I'm like, yeah, but man, I'm ready to cut this thing off. I promise you, y'all, she tried so hard to help me not cut it off. She's like, don't worry. I'm going to come next door. We're going to have fun. We're going to chill. We're going to relax. Don't cut it off. When I promise you, I still cut it off. I went in the bathroom, got the scissors, and just cut it off. Cece came next door. I let her in. She had a card for me, something to drink. I was so happy, but she looked at my ankle and was like, girl. And I looked at her and I was like, girl, you already know. She like, Aisha, why would you do that? And I'm like, I am. I'm like, I'm not. She like, girl, you about to get in trouble. Anyway, so I went out that night. I did what I wanted to do. And the crazy thing is, I didn't know what was going to happen. I kind of was like, I wasn't scared. Obviously, I just was like, whatever. And the crazy thing about it is I still went to school that day. the next day. So I went to school and man, I was in school and them people was there. Them people was there. And the police officers came and got me. And I was like, oh, they for real. Like, they wasn't playing. Like, they here for me. They called me down to the office, handcuffed me, and that was that. And I was like, oh, for real, they wasn't playing. So they took me to the detention center here in Buffalo, New York. I was definitely shocked. I was definitely surprised. At this point in time, the detention center was not in Buffalo, New York, though. It was actually in Alden, New York. And across the street from the Erie County Jail, that's where I went. I didn't have a bad experience, staying at the detention center. I mean, they were strict like they were supposed to be. Like I told y'all, I ended up working for them. I didn't cause any trouble there. I did what I was supposed to do. I went in my room when I was supposed to. And I think I got in trouble one time there. I got an early bedtime. They call them EBTs. I think that's the correct term, whatever. But I didn't do anything. But I promise you, I was stressed out because I still had that mindset of doing what I wanted to do. I was there about 7 days. And I could have almost got in trouble there because I started to get into it with the other young ladies, but, it didn't happen. So I went and talked to somebody. I don't remember who I went and talked to, but I know they released me. But they didn't release me to go home. They released me to go to a non-secure, house detention. And I remember being at this older woman house. She had to be 60 years old. But her house was very warm, comfortable, clean. And this lady was on it. And I spent 7 days at her house. Early in the morning, I had to get up, do all her chores in the house. Anything that she needed me to do, I had to do it. And I did it because I didn't want to get any more trouble. They finally released me, and that was that. So I said all that to say, that was my experience, the juvenile justice system, because I actually didn't really get in trouble anymore after that. But my question to y'all is, as being parents now and knowing how the criminal justice system is, would have been your first option with your child? Are there any other options in this world now? And do you think it's beneficial for a youth to go through something like that? For me, it definitely opened my eyes. It definitely changed my mind. It definitely did what it was supposed to do to me, but it doesn't have that effect on everybody. So I definitely was wondering, are there any other options in this world when it comes to that? Because when I work with the youth in the detention center, a lot of them would come back. For me, that wasn't an option. I didn't like being on an ankle bracelet. I definitely didn't like being locked up in my room all the time. I basically wanted to do what I wanted to do. But I learned that day, me doing it that way wasn't going to help. So how do y'all feel about that? What do you think about that in those scenarios? Do you think there could be another way for us to deal with our youth instead of putting them on PENS program, leading them down that road? Do we have any more options? Do we have any other outlets? Because our youth are our future, and they are not in the best condition even now. Basically, the African American youth are still struggling, picking up a lot of habits, drinking, smoking as an outlet. These are the things that's being done in this world pertaining to the youth. And I wanted to talk about it because it's so important pertaining to that. Like I said, I feel like it did something for me in a way of just not making me want to go back. I just didn't want to go back. I didn't want to be locked up. But that, like I said, that's not for everybody. That's not for a lot of us in this world. Some of us are going to still be hard-headed. Some of us are still going to go back because it wasn't enough. And like I said, is it enough? That they say for most African-American Black males, that's the beginning of a pipeline, meaning going to prison. You start off being locked up in the juvenile justice system multiple times, and then you turn into an adult, and then you get locked up, and then you just continue to go down this line. And that's scary because I do still see a lot of youth that's struggling with that. I've ran into some of the youth that I even work with, and I've seen them there, and now seeing them as adults, they're doing like 5 years, 10 years, you know. So I'm just sharing this. That's my experience. I kind of want to know, like, how do people feel about these things? What do you think? Like, could it have been another way? Do you think if I kept going down that road, would it made me any better? You know what I'm saying? Could there have been another option for me in this particular place? Like, what we doing out here? It's definitely important to consider these type of things, and you want to know basically what we could do about these scenarios because, like I said, it's still happening. But anyway, moving forward, I shared that experience because our juvenile justice system, it definitely needs a lot of improvement. It should not be a revolving door as such. It's the same way as the adult offender, you know, how it revolves back and forth, around and around and around, you know. Yeah, so I know this was a pretty short podcast today, but that's okay. It was something that needed to be spoken about. So tune in. I got a lot more information coming up in the future, you know. And thank you again for listening to She Knows. I don't know everything, but I know enough.